Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another immortal episode of History of the Marvel Universe. This week's tale begins with a French chemist by the name of Paul-Pierre Duval. Since he was a boy, Duval had a love of science and a knack for chemistry. But as a young man working as a lab assistant, a chemical mixture he'd been concocting was contaminated by an unknown element. Distracted by his employer, Duval accidentally spilled the strange new chemical compound onto his right hand. The consequences of this foible were quickly apparent as his fingers transformed to resemble living stone. He soon discovered that anything and anyone he touched with that hand would be transformed into a statue for a full hour. Any person subjected to this remained alive but unable to move until the spell wore off. However, when Duval touched his own person, not only did he remain able to move, but his strength and durability increased to superhuman levels, making him far stronger than normal stone. Using his new power for crime, he soon amassed a fortune in ill-gotten wealth. His greed would only increase further until he decided to steal the hammer of the thunder god Thor, thinking it would grant him eternal life. Crafting a costumed identity for himself, Paul Duval became the Grey Gargoyle and made his way from Paris to New York. In their first encounter, the Grey Gargoyle proved to be able to hold his own against his immortal opponent. Of course, the hammer's enchantment prevented the unworthy from lifting it off the ground, and Duval was unable to claim his prize. Ultimately, it wasn't strength that won Thor the day, but guile. In his mortal guise of Donald Blake, Thor was able to trick the gargoyle into careening off a pier, and thus his rocky form sank to the bottom of the Hudson River. He entered into a state of hibernation for several months until he was fished out by unknowing researchers. The Grey Gargoyle soon snapped back to life, proving that while in stone form he could survive without food or air for an indefinite amount of time. Striking back, Paul Duval has become a recurring enemy for Thor and the other heroes of Earth. He battled the alien Beta Ray Bill in an encounter involving time travel, and was one of the many villains manipulated by Dr. Doom into attacking the wedding of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. He fought with Iron Man while trying to steal technology from Tony Stark, and later encountered Captain America while seeking the dangerous compound Element X. He escaped that battle but was tracked down and nearly defeated by Cap's friend and partner, the Falcon. However, the Grey Gargoyle was able to use a variation of his original formula to transform and control the avian hero. The Falcon struggled to resist, but fortunately the formula eventually wore off. Duval's attempts to obtain Element X were ultimately thwarted when he was tricked into a capsule and launched into orbit by Nick Fury. But he was later recovered by the sinister super scientists of Advanced Idea Mechanics. Fury tasked Captain America and Spider-Man with apprehending the super criminal, but the Grey Gargoyle defeated the two heroes and turned them to stone. Working with AIM, he strapped the pair to a rocket intending to launch them into space as revenge, but their unique physiologies allowed them to recover quicker than expected and strike back. In the end, the Gargoyle's ankle was caught in the very chain he'd used to bind his opponents, causing him to be the one sent into space once more. This time, he was sent hurtling through the cosmic abyss for months until he was finally found and recovered again, this time by a group of alien pirates. Duval's extraordinary power allowed him to slay the pirate captain and take control of the crew for himself. As their leader, the Grey Gargoyle aided the pirates in their enslavement of other alien races. However, when he came across Thor and his allies in deep space, Duval saw his opportunity to return home and proposed an alliance. He agreed to help the Thunder God free the enslaved aliens as long as he was brought back to Earth afterwards. However, the first mate, Phi Lon, overheard these plans and led a mutiny against the Grey Gargoyle. In the ensuing chaos, Duval tried to escape in a shuttle, but Phi Lon leapt aboard before it was launched. During their struggle, the Gargoyle inadvertently turned the shuttle's control panel to stone, causing the ship to veer out of control and crash. Duval survived the explosion and began drawing in cosmic debris, forming a thick, rocky shell around him. Using the pieces of the shuttle's rockets he had drawn onto himself, he was able to propel himself back to Earth, where he battled the mighty Avengers. The heroes were able to defeat his monstrous new form, but doing so only served to free the Grey Gargoyle once more. He continued to be an adversary to the Avengers, even briefly joining forces with Baron Zemo's Masters of Evil. After that, he briefly disappeared, but resurfaced under the false identity of Paul St. Pierre. Fancying himself something of an artist at this point, he began selling realistic statues of people in unsettlingly frightened poses. The statues were actually his petrified victims treated with a special chemical causing them to remain as stone indefinitely. This scheme was eventually thwarted by Iron Man, and his victims were restored to normal when the chemical coating was carefully removed. The Grey Gargoyle escaped that battle unscathed, but later suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the Hulk. Despite these losses, the Grey Gargoyle has returned again and again to menace the heroes of Earth and pursue his selfish goals. In more recent years, he accomplished something akin to his initial goal of stealing Thor's hammer when the God of Fear summoned 7 more Asgardian weapons to Earth. One of these hammers fell into the possession of the Grey Gargoyle, transforming him into Mach, Breaker of Faith, and Servant of the God of Fear, the Serpent. Mach went on a rampage in Paris, transforming many people permanently to stone with his increased powers and killing many others. Iron Man and another hero named Detroit Steel challenged him, but proved to be no match for the godly Gargoyle. Fortunately, the Avengers assembled to defeat the Serpent and his forces, returning Mach and the other hammer-wielding villains to normal. In the aftermath, Duvall was arrested and placed in a containment cell capable of holding him. Fortunately, after being confronted by Iron Man, Thor's father, Odin, used his godly power to restore the people that Mach had petrified. And all that Paul Duvall could do from within his cage was clasp his hands and pray. And that is the origin and history of the Grey Gargoyle. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share the video, and subscribe for more marvelous content. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what Marvel hero or villain you want to hear about next, and as always, the issues referenced in this video are listed in the description below if you would like to read them for yourself, as well as links to other places you can find me, including my Patreon page, where for only $1 a month you can get your name in these special thanks here. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!